In this video, we're first going to review connecting to a data source and adding a table. Then the latter part of the video will look at formatting tips and techniques. With Crystal Reports open, click a blank report. Click the plus sign in front of Create New Connection. We will be connecting to our regular data source, which is the Crystal Extreme. That is an Access database. I'll click the plus sign in front of Access. Database name. Now I'm going to click the Build button at the end and go out to my data source, which is on my C drive. I will now click the plus sign in front of the tables. Choose the table that I want to work with, and in this video we're going to be working with the customer table. So I'll click Customer, and I can click Add to add it to the selected tables, or I can double click it to add it to the selecting table. So I want to see that clearly that it is in the selected tables list. I'll click OK.
And we can start with our first information. As with any application, we'll always have more than one way of doing it. So I'll just show you a couple and then you can find your favorite. I will of course show you my first favorite, and that's to go over to the Field Explorer window, expand the database fields. I have one table, customer. I'll expand so I can look at all of the customers, and I'm going to take the customer ID and drag it over, I'm holding the mouse down, into the details section. Now when I put something in the details section, automatically in the page header I'll have a column heading. I also get a guideline added to it. So that's one way. Another way is to right mouse click on the customer name, insert to report, single click, and now without holding the mouse down, if I had a camera you'd see that my hands are not holding any buttons on the mouse. I can move it over, and then now I'm going to left mouse click and it places it there. Notice that the guidelines are in two positions. This basically says that my data is numeric, and so it justifies everything to the right. The customer name is text, and it's justified to the left. Again, I can always go to my Field Explorer and review or browse the data. Right mouse click, browse data, and over here I can see that this is in fact string data type, and I have a length of 40. Click on Close. Let's browse the customer ID. I'm going to click on that, and notice again that the data type is number, and it is numeric. One important component, or before this class is over, you're going to become very familiar with the database and the fields, the data types, and what they represent. So start getting comfortable with that. Look at the data, browse it, see whether it's text, number, date, time. I will now add a couple more. City and region. Now if you take a look at the Field Explorer, you'll see green check marks to show us which fields are currently being used in the report. One other comment is that if you do not drag and drop the field into the details section but put it in, say, the page header or the report header, you will not automatically get the page header column, field column names. You might want to try that on your own just to see what happens. Also, they're pretty much in unison, so if I decide to single click on the region and press the delete key, notice both get removed. And if I should add it somewhere else, notice I get a second guideline. I can click on the guideline, drag it off the ruler, and it disappears. The guidelines are there to allow you to move the fields and column headings associated with it, but unfortunately once you move one or the other, then they get disjointed and no longer work in unison. Here's an example. Here I will take the column heading and I'll move it diagonally upwards. Notice that now the guideline is only associated. Now when I move the guideline, it's only working with the actual data field. I can kind of hook it up by taking the field heading and kind of moving it close, and I should see a little red line or a little red dot to show me that they are aligned again. You can also take a look at the sections and make them larger if you wish. For example, I'm going to drag down and now my page header is larger. Or for some reason I took a data field and slided it down just a little bit or slid it down a lot. Now when I preview my report, and to preview you can click on the icon refresh or press the F5 key. Now I have my report looks a little funny. I'm going to unpin my Field Explorer. Notice that things are a little bit jagged, which does not make for a good report, and I've got a big gap between my column heading and my actual data. Going back to the design view, I'm going to try to align everything. And instead of trying to single click and hold the control key, sometimes things may move around accidentally. I'm not very careful. And now I've got to move things back in. An easy way of selecting everything that's in one section is to go into the section, right mouse click, and select all section objects. When I click on that, everything that's in that detailed section is all selected. Now I can go up to the Format menu and I can align everything to either the tops or the bottoms. So I'm going to align everything to the tops. And then I can either with my mouse click and move everything up together, or I can also use the arrow keys and move everything up to the top. Now when I preview my report, I still have a large gap between each of the data elements, and if you this is not something that's very practical, especially if we're printing this. If I take a look at the number of pages, I have 11 pages, which may not seem like a lot, but if we were printing this report for lots of people, it would take up a lot of paper. Therefore, we want to limit or use the default size. Going back to the design view, I'm going to again right mouse click in the section that I finished designing. I'm going to make sure that everything is kind of butted up to the top of the section division line. And now I'm going to right mouse click again and click on Fit Section. And notice that now my detail line is fitted to the size, and when I preview, instead of having 11 pages, I now have 6 pages. But I still have this big gap, so let's go ahead and fit that. So again in the section, I'm going to right mouse click, select all section objects. Notice that I have some that are offline. I'm going to Format, Align. Let's align the bottoms. So now the bottoms are all equal. I'm going to take my arrow key, the up arrow key, and move everything up. And now I'm going to right mouse click, fit the section. And because when I preview this, I have this underline, I may want to give it a little bit more space. So again, we're custom designers. I'm going to click and move it down just a touch so that there's a little bit of space. We don't need to butt it everything exactly real close together, but just a touch. So now my design looks a little bit better. In observing this report, I notice that I have less of a margin on the left and a larger margin on the right. So I want to space this information a little bit so I'm using the entire page. I'm going to go back to the design view, and just a couple of ways to show you how to move items around. Moving both the region and the column heading along with it. I'm going to take the guideline and move it over. I can also single click on the data field and use the right arrow key and move it over. And if I wanted to do both of those, I can single click each of them, use the right arrow key. Notice that now I have lost the guidelines associated with that. Sometimes I need them, or sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. So if you want to remove them, you, again, as I showed earlier, you can single click and drag them off the ruler, or if you would like, you can right mouse click on the ruler and select remove all vertical guidelines. And if you decide, oh wait, I do want it back, just click on the ruler. I'm going to create one for the region here, and single click, and notice you get the little red boxes that shows that your text is now associated with the guideline. And if I preview my report, I can see that my spacing is a little bit better. It's more balanced. And when I mouse over or hover, I can also see the length of my data fields. And I can see that region is taking a lot more than it really needs to. I'm going to go back to the design view, single click on the data field, and I'm going to resize the field. Notice when I resize the field, it also resizes the column heading. Now if I selected the column heading and did that first, notice that my data field does not change in size, just the column heading. So if you know that you want both to be the same size, then that's what you would want to do. Say that I want the customer ID to be a little bit larger. So I can go ahead and single click the column heading, and using the resize I can make it larger. Notice that it is going to the right, and if we preview that, it's butted up close here, so I want to shift it over to the left a little bit. I can do that in the preview mode, but I think we should get comfortable doing everything in the design view. So now I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to select both the customer ID and the data field, and using my arrow key, move it to the left, and then move it to the left, just to show you that they don't have to be associated together. And now say that I want to align the lefts, so I'll single click and select both of those, and let's align them to the rights. Format, align to the right. And now they're both aligned to the right. If I click on preview, let's say I have something like this set up in the details section. I have all the different fields, and because of moving things around, they're not quite aligned properly. How can I get them all aligned to the one that I like? So I've aligned one to where I want it to be, and that's the customer name. It's butted up to the top of the details section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse click, select all the section objects, and on the one that I like, where it's positioned where I want it to be, I'm going to right mouse click. I'm going to call this kind of the master field, and I'm going to align all of the other ones to match this one at their tops. So notice that now they're all aligned together to that one that I selected, and now I'm going to right mouse click and fit the section. For this example, say now that I want to make the customer ID field and the customer label the same size. So I can go ahead and select both, right mouse click on the size that I want, for example the data field, size, same width, same height, or same size. So I'm going to go ahead and select same size. Now they're the same size, and again, which alignment do I want? Do I want to use the field heading or the customer ID? I'll use the customer ID, right mouse click, align, and let's align to the rights. So now when I preview the report, again I'm looking at overall balance. I'm looking for not having too much space between the different sections, and trying to come up with something very, very easy to read, easy to review from whomever the user is. One last tip, I do have access to the formatting toolbars, and if I want to make my column headings bold, I can right mouse click in the section on the far left, select all the section objects, and I can go ahead and now notice that I have the formatting toolbar. Click on bold, click on italic, I can make it a little bit larger, I can change the font style, and font size. Okay, notice that when I do this, it looks a little cut off here. If I preview, I still can't see anything. So what I want to do is go ahead and use the sizing handlebars and make this a little bit larger. And if I do one, I'm affecting all, make them all a little bit larger. Oops, I just moved it, so I'm going to do a Control Z. But this size is really too large for this report, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, trying to show something that will work. And again here, I'll have to resize this a little bit more. And let's preview it, see what it looks like. When I preview, I notice that it's the slant that's making it appear cut off, so if I take off the italicized, and again preview my report, it looks a little bit better. So this is what I'm going to save. One last tip, and that's how to save your file. You can go up to File, Save As, and I'm just going to name this Customer. Just remember where the path is that you're saving them. I have created a folder called Prog 175 with reports, and that's where I'm storing my reports. Click on Save. Notice again that on the tab for the report it says customer.rpt. Previewing, there's more than one way to preview. You can also look at refreshing the data, or you can also use the icon to print preview. Control R is another key. I'm going to click on the button, and we can also get the preview tab. So if the preview tab happens to be closed, you can always click on the icon to print preview. Or if you like to use the menus, View, Print Preview. That's it for now.